I married a guy I knew most of my life. We knew each other in high school and even went to prom together. But little did I know, I did not know him at all. I will call my now ex-husband Dirty Chad.
Hey y'all, this is April.
And this is Caroline.
With Bloody Happy Hour.
And we are bringing to you Dirty Chad. Get it on patreon.com/bloodyhappyhour exclusively for all the details and all the red flags.
Caroline's finally telling her story.
My truth.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome to Purpose-Driven Sobriety. Thank you for joining the Purpose-Driven Sobriety podcast. My name is Christine Cohen, and I'm an alcoholic. I would like to not really thank me, but thank the website, purposedrivensobriety.com, where you can purchase certain T-shirts, recovery T-shirts, purpose-driven sobriety T-shirts, and each sale, which is approximately $5 off of each shirt, goes to fund this podcast, which is a nonprofit. We're still working on getting our nonprofit status, which is Baylor University is actually working on that for us. It's amazing. So anyway, be sure to visit there today. I am excited, and it's funny, Garold, because, the intraweb has just really kind of changed recovery. Not changed recovery, but it changed a little bit in the sense that all of the different various recovery pages that are available on, and I'm speaking primarily about Facebook, we get to meet people we wouldn't probably normally meet, that share our disease, basically. And so you are one of those people that I have been blessed to interact with on social media. And you've graciously agreed to come on the show. So thank you for that. I'm very grateful. Garold, tell me, where are you out of?
I am in a little town called Wyandotte in Michigan. Approximately, like if I go down to the river, I can see the bridge to Canada in downtown downtown Detroit.
Okay.
Like I'm that close to the city of Detroit. That's where I grew up skateboarding. That's where I went to college. That's where I saw all the punk shows growing up.
Really?
And it's a great place to live. The things you hear on the news are a little inflated.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah,
yeah, we won't go there.
We have some of the greatest people on the planet. And I want to comment about your opening. First, thank you so much for having me on, Christine. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Of course. And
the internet has changed things. Tomorrow, we'll get into it, but I'm a professional skateboarder. And tomorrow, a new board comes out, and a bunch of guys are coming up from Ohio. And they all come up from, they're all in recovery.
Oh,
and
wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and the one gentleman, Mr. Jeff Schill, he always brings up newcomers who are new to sobriety, but they used to skateboard, so they come up and they hang out with us, and we skate, and we talk sobriety,
exciting.
We talk shit. And so the internet really has changed things on as far as networking and meeting other like-minded individuals, especially in sobriety.
Well, and I got to tell you, it's a slippery slope, because yes, it has in a beautiful way expanded those of us who are comfortable in working at whatever program you're working and expanding on that. But I've also seen those who just lean only into an online group or something and still really struggle. So, I think that if something you're doing is not working for you and you're trying to get into recovery, try obviously something different. I think that my humble opinion, God put us on this earth to need one another. In person is where it's at, when you're really trying to get into recovery. But anyway, so on this show, Garold, we just share our experience, strength, and hope, just in a casual way, like we're talking right now. What it was like, what happened, and what we're like now, and just the redemptive stories, to share for that person that needs that hope that's still suffering out there. So, like I said, thank you so much, and I cannot wait to hear your story.
It's we all have our own unique stories, and we have commonalities, but they're all unique, and mine is no different. I grew up well, we'll start. When I was born, I had to wear brace on my legs, sort of like Forrest Gump. And
Oh,
I'm deaf in
yeah.
one ear. And straight out of there, I went into hockey skates, and I was a goaltender, and I played hockey, and that was my passion. I loved hockey. At about the age of 11, I picked up a skateboard. My skateboard traveled with me in my hockey bag, and I got to play hockey in Sweden, Norway, Finland, all over Canada.
Wow.
People thought I was going to be in the NHL. And at 20 and a half, I decided it wasn't fun anymore, and I quit. I wasn't having fun. I wasn't passionate about it. My body was hurting. I was a goaltender, so I
Oh,
stood in front of
wow.
100-mile-an-hour slap shots. That was what I loved to do. And at 20, I decided I didn't love it. Still riding a skateboard, going to college, doing the normal things that we were told, society was telling us to do. And at about 25, 24, 25, all of my friends partied. I never drank. I did not drink a beer until I was
Shut
23 years old.
up. Really?
I was straight edge. All my friends knew it. I didn't smoke. I didn't claim that I was straight edge, but I valued my hockey career. I valued my artwork. I valued these other things. And I drank like half a beer I think I was like 22 in Texas. And I'm like, well, and I read a lot. I read a lot of books, and I'm like, well, I'll drink a Mickey's because that's what Ted Bundy drank. And so let's try that. And so I drank a half a Mickey's beer. And then around 25, I started drinking, and my friends celebrated it. I mean, I even had a Jägermeister bottle in my bedroom that I bought, dumped out, and just because I liked the bottle. I didn't even drink it, didn't even taste it. I was terrified.
Okay, so hang on. Let's pause. So were your parents drinkers?
My dad drank in his 20s and would get out of hand. Alcoholism on both sides of my family, crazy.
Okay.
Like nuts.
Okay.
And I was a straight up addict. But I put it towards positive things. It was my hockey career, skateboarding,
Right.
artwork. I started playing drums at 18. I was all in to whatever I was doing. And for much of my life, those were healthy, cool things. And at about I think it was my 25th birthday, I was at this punk rock house, and I just started drinking, and all my friends were like, "Woohoo, Garold's drinking!" And the whole freezer was full of Jägermeister for me.
Oh, wow.
And so around that time, skateboarding was taking off for me. I was winning a bunch of contests, and I got to tour with my childhood idol. Like the guy I used to draw pictures of in junior high.
Oh, wow.
Now is my friend, and we're going on tour. And he's a pretty gnarly dude, like tattooed skulls, like we're freaking raging.
Right.
And so my drinking, that's what we did. Like we went and we did a skateboard show and then go back to the hotel. People would come back to the hotel. We'd get drunk, go to the next city, and do it again tomorrow. And from 25 to 27, I was getting after it pretty good. And I was touring. I was, just doing my thing. And I came home. Even when I come home, I just had my stuff stacked at my mom's house, and because I wasn't home much, so I just come home, then go back on the road. And then around 27, and this one's gonna blow your mind. Like this is when I knew I should not drink anymore, and my dad, he did hardwood floors, and I would work with him on occasion when I'd come home because I was good at it. And I came home, and I knew I was sitting at home. If I wasn't on the road, I'd just be drinking and by myself. I drank by myself, and I met my dad for breakfast, and I held my hand out, and it was shaking, and I said, "Dad, I'm an alcoholic." And he pulled a number. My dad's a Harley dude, and he gave me a number, and he said, "This guy's in my club. Give him a call." And I didn't call him, and it was about 3 months later, and it got worse. And this is about 2000, 2001, somewhere in there. I think it was about 2001, maybe. Anyway, um, and I didn't call him about, it didn't get any better. So at the time, the internet wasn't crazy. So I found the 800 number. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I guess I got to go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. That's what I think I have to do. And so I got the 800 number, found a meeting. It was a Tuesday night. I know exactly where the meeting was right now. And I was, first meeting. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody who was in recovery. I do nothing. And I show up at this meeting by myself, and I walk in and I sit down, and this guy comes up to me, and he's like, first meeting. And I said, yeah. And he says, how you doing? My name's JD. And that was the number I had in my pocket from my dad 3 weeks ago.
No way.
I shit you not. And this
If that doesn't give you the heebie-jeebies, I don't know what will.
this is the big book he gave me that day.
Wow.
This is the book. And so I did that, and I never went to. I might have went to one more meeting, but I'm like, I can't drink anymore, and I ended up. I had just gotten married, and I quit drinking for 11 years. Never drank again.
Okay.
And because I knew how to live sober, I had lived most of my life sober, and I knew. So I shifted my routine, and I got into the married life. Skateboarding was doing great for me. Life was moving in a great direction. I had throughout that time, I was fairly successful, traveling, competing, doing some other things. I was speaking on stages, doing some motivational stuff, working with different organizations. And around, I guess it would have been around 2011, 2012, the marriage wasn't doing very good. And for some reason, and I don't know what the answer is, I started drinking at night. Everybody would go to bed, and as soon as everybody went to bed, I would stay up working, and I would hit the liquor cabinet.
Oh, wow.
And I would drink to blackout. That's what it got to, almost every night. Eventually, I divorced my first wife, and then I bought my own house, and I was dead set on drinking to die. That's all I wanted to do. I'm like, I've done everything I'm going to do on this planet. At that time, I'd written a book. I had created a TV show, podcast, professional skateboarder, all this crap. I'm like, there's nothing else this world has for me, and nobody's going to tell me to stop. My cat ain't going to tell me to stop.
Mm-hmm.
That was in 2013 is when the divorce was final, and I bought this house, and I was dead set on drinking myself to death. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't. There might be 10 people on the planet that have seen me drunk, maybe.
Wow.
I would drink alone, and we'd go out to the clubs. Like when I wasn't, my friends knew. I'd make sure everybody got home safe while they were all getting hammered out at the clubs. I never drank, and rarely ever. I was never drunk in public, never.
Wow.
So 2013, I'm all in. I'm like, there's nothing left here for me to live for, and I would line up fifths of vodka, and I would drink. At the last probably 6 months, year, I was drinking 2/5 a day, maybe 3/5 a day. Emergency room, and I would go out and do crazy cool stuff. Like I would stay sober for a month, and I'd go like skate. I'd run a triathlon. There was one freaking time, Christine, I ran a triathlon, and 2 weeks later, I was across the street at Brighton Center for Recovery in rehab, and it was nuts. It was nuts. I ended up in an insane asylum for a week because, like, my girlfriend at the time, like, told my dad I was looking for my gun. So they put me in an insane asylum for a week. And then from there straight to, we're very fortunate here in this great state of Michigan to have one of the best recovery facilities on the planet. Brighton Center for Recovery is about an hour from me, and that's where Eminem went. That's where Anita Baker went. That's where people fly from all over the country to go to this facility. And I got to be a 3-time resident there.
Really? Wow.
Three times, and it I don't know what shifted in me. I've always been a live fast, die young, and leave a good looking corpse kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout our, my travels, if we were swimming at a quarry and I'm like, I'd immediately go, what's the highest peak we can jump off of? And I'd go climb that, and that's where I was jumping from. And I've always been like that. And I knew enough about me that I never did drugs, because I knew I'd like them and I'd do them all.
Mm-hmm.
And and when I
Oh,
got
I love how you put that. That is exactly how I felt as well. I was scared of them. I was scared of drugs because I knew me well enough to know that, yeah, it would have been bad. I mean, it would have, as if alcohol was not bad enough. I mean, you're talking insane asylum, you're talking 3-time winner with the treatment center. Oh, but drugs. But you're right. I mean, I wasn't scared of the drugs themselves. I was scared of me with the drugs. And that just kind of occurred to me when you said that. So I love how you put that. Yeah. That was a self-awareness that probably saved your life.
It completely did. My cousin had come to live with me at one point in the late 90s, and heroin was his thing, and he had just got out of prison. And at a certain point, along that journey, he looked me in the eyes and said, I love heroin more than my kids.
Oh, wow. Well,
wow. And I knew that would happen to me. But it doesn't change the fact that, there's one time I called my mom and I'd be like, Mom, my chest hurts. I think I might have to go to the doctor or the hospital. And my blood was 40% vodka. That's probably why my heart was hurting.
Probably. But isn't it funny? I mean, it's funny to look back on now, obviously.
It is funny to look back.
Just to go, how could I not know that the seizure that I just had could possibly be the fact that I just drank 3/4 of a gallon of vodka? I don't know. Maybe. Right. When my husband insinuated that because I was convinced I had a medical emergency, right? And Lord help me with the Google, to what these symptoms could possibly be. I mean, I had me diagnosed with all kinds of rare diseases, and he insinuated that it could possibly be the alcohol, and he's lucky he walked away from that interaction, because it was like, how dare you, seriously. I mean, that is how crazy and nuts we were.
And you just, like, you remind me, like, I would research vitamins to clean my liver so I could drink more or
do less damage, at least.
Yep. Yeah, like, I looked like hell. And for a little bit of time, I being a pro skateboarder is like being a rock star. Like, you don't make a lot of money. You get to travel and do fun stuff, and people give you free things, right. But you're not crushing it financially.
Sure.
And so even I was working a full-time job for a while, and I was a boss. I was like running things, and I would figure out ways to mask it, because you could smell me coming from a mile away, and I was probably still drunk from the night before when I drove to work. And I was the boss, and eventually I just quit showing up. I just quit showing up. I'm like, whatever, I'm going to be dead soon anyway. So what really matters? Mm-hmm. What does that matter that I have somebody trying to put my car on a flatbed to repo it? Mm-hmm. Somehow I saved that. I have foreclosure notices coming. I'm avoiding phone calls because I don't want to talk to the bill collectors, and I'm siphoning gas out of my lawnmower to put in my car so I can drive to the liquor store because they banned me from the ones closest to me. Shit. As I go through the couch to find change to go get a half pint. And it's crazy to look back and go, but that's the thinking. That's the thinking. That's the rewiring, and the physiology shifts in our brain to where we view whatever we're addicted to.
As the
We view,
normal. Yeah.
well, we view it as that's what we need to stay alive.
Right.
Like our chemicals like shift, like vodka was like oxygen to me, and that's how I could justify all of those actions.
Because if I could just get just a little bit, then I would stop. I could actually write my name. Just one drink, and I'll feel normal again. Right.
Yep.
Nuts.
And yeah, it wasn't rehab, it wasn't the insane asylum, it wasn't the doctor going, you should be dead right now, but you're in good shape, so you're gonna stay alive. I don't know how you're not in a coma. It wasn't any of that. People ask me all the time, they're like, gee, what was it, man? And it was the hand of something bigger than me. That's what it was. Because on February 2nd, 2017, I walked into that bathroom right there, and I looked in the mirror, and I said, either we're gonna die right now. Let's quit monkeying around. Let's just get it over with. Quit putting these other people, your mom, your dad, put them through hell. Let's just get it over with right now. Or we're gonna stop right now and figure out a way out of this. And that day I made that decision that I would do whatever I had to do to I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I didn't want to stay drunk and I didn't want to die. And ironically, it was Groundhog's Day, February 2nd, and I was sick and tired of living that same life over and over and over again. It's one of my best friend's birthday is February 2nd, and legendary punk rocker Sid Vicious died of an overdose on February 2nd. And that was the day I decided that I would do whatever I had to do, whatever anybody told me to do. If I tell different people, I say, if I was told to crawl on glass to Antarctica, I would have gotten on my knees and I would have crawled to Antarctica, because that's where I was willing to do that. The effort that I put in to stay drunk and to try to kill myself, divine intervention, call it whatever you want, but that shifted in me on that day, and I would do whatever it was, whatever. And I knew, we know the freaking answers. I was already into meditation, and I already understood the power of mind. I had been studying Dr. Joe Dispenza and the Buddhist scholars, and I understood so much, but it doesn't matter. I was the guy who wanted to read my way out of anything at that time, as a academic. If I read these books, I'll be fixed.
Right.
And that's not how this program works. That's not how recovery works. No matter, I don't care what your path in recovery, 12-step, whatever it is for you, it's our action. It's life in general.
Right.
Nothing happens until something moves. Isn't that what Albert Einstein said? Nothing happens until something moves.
Right.
And that thing is us. We have to move ourselves in the right direction. And on that day, I decided I would do it. And I, started going to meetings, started reaching out to friends, networking to other people, meeting new people who had the similar kind of goals in life as me, to stay alive, to stay sober, and be a viable person in society. And it was, pacing the floor. The craziest thing is that like what our body does. My heart would be freaking racing till 2:01 a.m. At 2 a.m., you can't buy booze in Michigan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
At 2 a.m., you can't buy booze until 7 a.m. the next day or later that day. My heart would be racing. I'd be pacing the floor, freaking fidgety, crazy, nutty. And once that clock hit 2:01, my pulse would slow down.
Because it wasn't up to you anymore.
Because I can't go get it now.
Yeah.
And then it might start again as soon as I wake up tomorrow. But it's really, addiction, alcoholism, all of it's the physiology of it is incredible. And as we continue to understand what happens in our brain, what Dr. Kevin McCauley, if you're not familiar with him, anybody, I would suggest taking a look. He wrote a movie called Pleasure Unwoven, and he has a new one called Memo to Self, I think. And he has spent the last 25 years researching, is addiction a choice? The choice question. And he was a flight surgeon in the military and rehabbed at Leavenworth. That's where he got his rehab.
Wow.
And he's just the science that he talks it hits a note with me. To understand that rewiring of our brain, and that what ends up happening, and the way we put our whatever substance we're addicted to, where we put that on our own priority chart, and how it moves into more important than oxygen.
More important than your kids.
Heroin,
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, February 2nd, 2017, best day of my life. And the things that it taught me since then, the greatest gift in my life is sobriety. And the greatest lesson I have ever learned in my life getting sober, because nobody was telling me to do it. Nobody was forcing me to do it. Nobody said you have to get sober or else. None of that happened. It was purely my decision that I would do whatever I had to do. And the other thing throughout my life is I had super low self-esteem. And so I had to always perform for a crowd and have the crowd tell me how cool I was. And it was in hockey, in art, in playing my drums, riding my skateboard, all those things. They're rad and they're fun, and I still get to do them because I want to do them. But I effing hated myself. And so they had to tell me I was cool so I could try to believe it.
Right.
And,
that's hard to chase.
sobriety gave that to me. Gave me self-love, gave me comfort in my own skin. I still love the crowds, but I don't need them. I go play my drums 3 days a week in my basement to my headset, and I'm pretty happy with that. I don't have to be on a stage. And I go out and ride my skateboard. I don't have to be the circus monkey and be the coolest guy in the skate park. Granted, I'm a little older now, and I get to play the OG card and just hang out and talk to people and sign autographs, but it doesn't bother me to not be the best there or have the crowd. I can be the loudest one cheering for my friends and be cool with that. And that is, in my mind, the greatest gift, not only to be alive, but to have a healthy self-love. Sobriety gave me that. And since then, I'm just every day, my day starts with gratitude. It ends with gratitude. At 2 years, I waited till I was sober for 2 years, and that was the first time I came out publicly about things. I did an interview with my friend on a podcast, and he's like, dude, we got blah, blah, blah views. That was an incredible interview. And since then, I've been working with people quietly, one-on-one, behind the scenes a little bit, not being super, making it my soapbox. And over the last year, my life coaching practice has moved over into ironically, several of my clients just happen to be in recovery.
Really?
And that was pretty cool. And so I love working with people who are solid in their sobriety and looking for more. Because I'm an entrepreneur. I still skateboard. I still play my drums. I just wrote a new book, DIFY, Do It For Yourself, A Simple Guide to Living the Life You Deserve. And it's not necessarily a recovery book, but it talks, that's a big part of my story,
Right.
so it's in there. But, just continuing to reach out to people to share, as the best thing is one alcoholic helping another one. We can relate to each other, can understand that, and being open and honest about it. That's who I was, and
Well, and dropping the shame. There's for at least for me, there was just so much shame that kept me so weighted down that the putting that down. Oh my gosh. And that's where, I love that you are, out there in public about it now, because damn it, there's so many people just dying literally from shame. Too afraid to admit what's going on with them when, you know, I mean, we don't compare, war stories in that sense, but it's like, dude, you're not the only one. It just takes a little bit of courage of stepping out and talking to another person in recovery.
That's it. And I got to tell you a couple other wonderful gifts. In December, my best friend asked me if we could talk. And my best friend. And our whole lives since we were 14 years old, well, he says 18, but we've been friends since we were 14. Since 18, I think he's drank a case of beer every night. Super successful.
Wow.
I don't know how he would do it. He would drink so much beer and be up at 5 o'clock and go work an 18-hour day. Like, he's just this incredible human. And I'm like, that's just who he is. That's who he'll always be. And I'm okay with that. My friends, well, back to the story about my buddy. Yeah, he said something to me in December. He's been sober since December 7th. He loves meetings. He goes to online meetings. He goes in person.
Amazing.
He freaking loves it. It's awesome. And I never in a million years would think that he would get sober. I mean, he's a very successful business person,
Mm-hmm.
and he did it. Another buddy of mine, that again, this disease does not discriminate. Another buddy of mine lives in great house, the two kids, the great wife, and been in jail twice in the last 2 years, and lost the six-figure job, and he's been sober now about a year, and still navigating life forward. But it just doesn't discriminate, and the shame and the guilt, for me, it was getting comfortable in my sobriety,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to say, yeah, I did those things. Yep, I own every bit of it. I completely did those things, and I found a way out, and we can talk about that, like how that looked for me, because the AA is incredible. I ended up becoming friends with Noah Levine, who wrote the book for Refuge Recovery, which is Buddhism in the 12 Steps. He's an old punk rocker, again, online. I'm like, hey, Noah, and talked to him a little bit, and we became friends. And I'm finding more and more, especially in the Detroit punk rock, skateboard, extreme sports kind of environment. It's an honor to have people say, hey, this person's having a little trouble. G, can I give them your number? I'm like, of course you can. And I'm their go-to for certain communities to reach out. And I'm like, it's an honor to be here, to be alive, be able to share a little bit of that hope. And my personal story hits a lot of those boxes, where almost losing my house, I didn't lose everything, but I was about this close.
Right.
Everything going away, the 500, 450 credit score, the no money in the bank, the no safety net to borrow from.
Yep. And the car up on the flatbed.
Yep.
I know
And
exactly
now
what you're talking about.
6.5 years later now, and I could never imagine I'd be in this place, having the honor to be on here with you, Christine, to be able to. Yesterday, I met presidential candidate Robert Kennedy, and tonight I have a couple paintings in an art show down the street at a local gallery, and tomorrow a new skateboard comes out with my name on it. And I wanted to die.
Well,
I wanted to be.
Well, and even too, Garold, back to your friend that you were talking about, gets up at 5 a.m. and goes to work. He's got the kids in the house and the wife and the picket fence and all, but he's in just as much hell as you or I ever was. It's like, I hate that term. Ugh, functioning alcoholic. That's like a jumbo shrimp. That's like being kind of pregnant. There's no such damn thing, because the facade, which is sometimes even worse when you can decorate the outside to where people aren't too concerned about you, because that means you might die quicker. Because you don't have that outside pressure. Not as if outside pressure will get you clean and sober, but it doesn't hurt, in the long run when you've got family that loves you, that's after you, But if you just look like everything is fine, inside you're just dying, or you want to die.
Yeah.
It's the same hell.
And you never know when it's going to catch you. You just don't know. A lot of people are dodging bullets, for lack of a better term. And the reason I bring this up is when I got sober, my cousin lives about 5 hours north, and we would talk a couple times a week. And we would talk, and he's like, I'm struggling with my sobriety. And then the next week, he'd be like, I'm doing good, G. I'm meditating. I'm feeling it. I'm getting there. And I was sitting on my porch 2 years ago. And him and I were talking on a Wednesday, in total normal conversation. He was having a little bit of liver trouble, and he was 49. And we're talking, and he's like, "Hey, gee, I gotta go. It's my doctor on the other line. I'll give you a call back in a little bit." And he was dead Friday.
Oh, snap!
You never know when the abuse we willingly do to ourselves is gonna catch us.
Well, and I got to tell you, even when you get clean, I'm just going to say this, in 2 days, I'm going to have a heart ablation, which, is what it is. But, we ultimately, I think that our bodies do heal, but you don't recognize the kind of damage you're doing to your body that may show up years later.
And the other thing that sobriety, I've always been a pretty polite, pretty nice, pretty positive kind of person. But recovery and sobriety, in my opinion, just my opinion, if you're doing it the right way, it is extreme accountability for who you are and the things you do, and that transfers to other parts of your life. Mm-hmm. And for me, like, there might be a time where you and I talk down the road, and I say, I'll call you at 2:52. And you're like, was that a typo in the text? And your phone will ring at 2:52. Mm-hmm. And I do that on purpose, because when I was drinking, I was unreliable. I was the maybe guy. Gee, you coming out tonight? Maybe. Maybe meant no, and I was going to get drunk. That's what maybe meant. And now I can say, nope, I'm not coming out, or yes, I am. And
I was going to say, yes, for me, I was the liar. I would say, yeah, I'll be there, and then a complete no-show. Yeah, I was. Well, and I said this in a previous show. I wasn't a liar because I was a liar, right? I was a liar because I was sick.
I like that.
It's just true, man. I wasn't a piece of shit just because I was a piece of shit. I was a piece of shit because I had a disease that was killing me. I at some point I lost complete ability to choose whether I had that disease, not whether I had that disease or not, or of how much that disease was affecting me. At some point, I lost that power of choice, and I became everything I hated about a human being: a liar, a thief, manipulator, just hateful, spiteful, just everything I hated about the human race I became, but not because I was that, but just because of the disease, and that's where I think that's why we try to kill ourselves, because I literally, on March 14th, 2012, I was out. And God showed up for me in a profound way, but I wasn't. It's ironic because I hear of people talking about suicide, of how it's such a selfish thing. That morning, I wasn't being selfish. I was actually going to be doing something for my children, putting me out of their misery. The disease, just, that's how far it can take you down. Now, it doesn't have to. So if you're out there and you're still suffering, you don't have to get to that point to find recovery. But just like you said, there has to be action. You can't wish yourself into recovery. You can't hope yourself into recovery. You got to do action. You got to take action into recovery. And there's hope. You don't have to get to where you're ready to eat a bullet. But boy, howdy, I sure did.
I wanted it to look like an accident so nobody would be mad at me.
Yep.
That was like, I wanted them, and for anybody who follows me on social media, I still do it to this day. Every morning, you're going to get a motivational quote or one of my quotes or something. And I started doing that on February 2nd because I wanted the 10 people who were paying attention to know I was still alive. And that's why I started posting every morning. Because if there wasn't a post for 2 days, somebody'd be beating down my door. And they're probably going to find me dead on my couch.
I love it. See, I have a similar. I, too, post every single morning. And I have since March 14th, 2012. And that started because... I'm not a reader. I mean, I know how to read. I just don't like to read. I don't read well and retain it. So when you hand me a big book, honey, I don't even read little books. So don't hand me a big book. And so my sponsor had challenged me. She knew I was on social media, and she said, "Would you ever post something that you hadn't read?" And I'm like, "No, who would do that?" And she said, "Well, how about if you read something, subscribe to a couple of motivational things, a couple of recovery things. And if you read something where you just go, oh my gosh, I really relate to that, why don't you go ahead and just post it? So maybe someone else can get something out of it as well." And so that's how my posting every single morning started. And now, talk about it being, we were talking about alcohol being almost the air we needed to breathe. If I don't do that morning time, I'm not a fun person. I'm not a fun person. And just like with you, if I haven't posted by 10, 11 o'clock, I have people messaging me going, what gives? What's wrong? What are you doing? Where are you? What's happening? And it's just beautiful. It's actually, I think maybe another level of accountability, that was installed unintentionally, but it's beautiful. And you just never know how your openness and your willingness is going to affect another human being. And I would have never in a million years thought that was important. I didn't give a shit about you. I didn't care about you. It's how was I feeling, what was happening in my life, because everybody was out to get me, and the transformation of being able to pour into someone else. And the irony of what you get back from that just still, almost 12 years later, blows my mind. It blows my mind. How that's a high. That's a drug right there. When someone messages you and says, you have no idea how much I needed to hear that. And I'm like, I just was like, share, I mean, it was like nothing, but it was everything to them. And it's just beautiful how that works.
Yeah, and like you just said, you never know. You never know who that is, and now I just see it as an honor, and that, again, in this crazy punk rock world in Detroit, that the people out there will be like, oh, message Garold. Hey, Garold, somebody's asking questions about possibly getting sober, and how do you do it? And I'm like, I would have never thought of that, because I still see myself as like a 14-year-old kid. Like, I still screenshot when I get text messages from people who I perceive as famous. I still screenshot them and put them in my pictures because I'm still like a 12-year-old. Well, I decided yesterday that I'm going to move up to 26 years old, not because of drinking, but because it'll help me with my confidence, because I still waver in my self-confidence. And when I'm open and honest about that, people are like, how can you do that? Like, you're not confident? Like, look at your freaking resume, dude. I'm like, something I'm working on.
You know what I
we
was
have
told the other day? Because I feel a little, and this is, you're probably not going to appreciate this, which we don't most of the time when we're told something in recovery, right? But when I said that someone had asked me to speak at a local thing, and I said, no, that's not, I can't do that. I don't. And there, she said, yeah, this is my sponsor that said this. She said, that's actually a reverse like pride thing, right? And I'm like, oh, no. How could that possibly be? And she said, because you're worried about what other people think of you. A, it ain't none of your business what other people think about you. B, it ain't about you. They're not asking you to share for you. They're asking you to share for the people that are in the audience. And I thought, well, shit. Okay. I can do that. If it's not about me, I don't have to worry about how, obviously I will care about how I look, but I don't have to worry about what you think about me if I'm doing something for you. Right? But when she said that's a form of pride, I thought, well, shit, I thought I had not done away with pride, but I thought I had put a lid on that for the most part. I really do. I mean, I guess it's not a great thing to go, I really am humble, Okay, well, you shouldn't have to say you're humble if you're humble. But, I try my hardest to be a humble person. But yeah, man, that's a reverse pride when you're worried about what other people are going to think about you.
And
shit.
That's, huh?
I said, shit. Another thing. It's like, and I keep telling her, I'm like, when am I going to graduate? Like, I want a cool piece of paper to put in a frame, or I mean, a trophy would be lovely, or something like that. Because I've worked the shit out of this program. I should get something. There should be an award. There should be a completion certificate, something. And she's like, yeah, nice try. Go help another alcoholic.
Right.
Okay, I can do that.
And see, mine is a little reversed. Because I was so concerned with what everybody thinks. That's why I drank in my house. I didn't want anybody to know I was drinking, because I had this public persona of being, Mr. Motivation, Mr. Positive all the time. And I used to be so over, and sobriety got me to be more comfortable in my own skin.
Mm-hmm.
So if I walk out the door, I'm still not a big, I'll pay attention to the shirt I have on, because there's still some younger people who look up to me, so I don't want a shirt that says F you, you effing out.
Sure,
but that's me. But if I have jeans on and a nice t-shirt, it doesn't matter how punk rock I look. I'm comfortable, and this is what I'm wearing. If I want to cut my hair like this, I'm okay with that, and I don't care what other people think about me anymore. I want to do what's comfortable for me, and that's something totally different, because I performed for everybody else on the planet most of my life. And now I get to be comfortable in my own skin. Right. And the greatest gift I ever got from sobriety.
Well, and what was funny is because I have been even this past year way more out there with my recovery than I ever was. But I've always, from day one, if you're in my presence for longer than 5 minutes, somehow, not intentionally, but somehow it's worked into a conversation that I'm in recovery. It just is, it's part of who I am, and I had someone really get into it, not into it with me, but kind of going, why do you do that? Just tell me where that comes from. And it took me a while to really hone into why I will announce that I'm to anybody. I mean, obviously here, it's because if I show you who I am, if I show y'all my guts, right? I'm not afraid of you anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of what you're going to think about me, what you're going to say about me, what it's like, you ain't got nothing on me, because I've already told you what at least I think is the best thing about me, these days. But what most people would say would be the worst thing about me, you already know everything. It's like, I don't have to be afraid of you. And when there's that dynamic between two souls, things change. Because when I'm who I am unapologetically to you, you're not afraid to also be that way with me. And I think that that's how God intended us to have a relationship. It's just, I don't know how many times I have people go, "Oh, Christine, you're just so honest." And it's like, why is that a compliment?
Right.
I mean, actually, why is that a compliment? That should not be a rarity. I mean, and I've really began to realize that it's just been within the past couple of months where people are just like, "You're just so honest." It's like, why are you even having to mention? Why aren't you honest with me too? It's like, because you're afraid of what I'm going to think about you or what someone's going to think about you. Become an alcoholic, get into recovery, and you won't have to be that way. Is what I want to say.
I have said it for years. The whole world should read the big book.
Right?
I don't care if it's addiction or you're
I gotta tell
whatever. There are so many great principles and philosophies in that make good people better. That make people who maybe are trying to figure it out, give them some purpose, and the honesty, the accountability, those principles are sexy.
Well,
vulnerability.
And I got to tell you, my husband Rick, he's not one of us, but he came with me into recovery. He quit drinking when like I said, he's not one of us, but I couldn't have stayed with him had he not stopped drinking. I needed a safe place, but he has read the big book, and there's a lot of I call them earthlings that listen to this show that are not one of us. But I got to tell you, what I was going to say about Rick is he believes that the 12 steps ought to be taught in high school. What are you powerless over? Every freaking thing. Do you believe, that there is a power greater than yourself? Because we go through our lives thinking we're it, right? Which ends up being a part of our demise. Who have you wronged? Go say a proper I'm sorry and a proper amends. At the end of the day, did you screw up? Were you mean to someone? Make it right then. He believes that ought to be taught. But he's intrigued, not intrigued, but he loves the program because, the step one is, admitted I was powerless over alcohol and my life had become unmanageable. Fill in that blank of alcohol with anything you need to fill it in with. Resentment, anger, depression, fear. I was powerless over video games and my life had become unmanageable. I know someone who lost their job, thus lost their insurance for their sick child because they got fired for playing video games at work. It's like I'm powerless over what? And that my life had become unmanageable. Fits everybody. It fits every human being. It fits everybody. But you have to, get to some form of desperation before you're willing to look in that kind of a mirror. Because it's painful. It's painful to look in that mirror.
Not always the easiest.
Yeah.
Definitely not. When you were talking about your husband, my mom, the first time I went into rehab, my mom read the big book to try to understand it a little better of what I was going through. And somehow I think I am a little bit of an oddball because, I quit going to my job, right? Just quit. And I was depended on by the president of the company, and I just, no more. I drank my way out of a touring punk rock band, a raging, partying band. Drank my way out of it. Yeah, woo, rock and roll, buddy. And all those people are still my friends.
Oh, that's amazing.
I just started jamming with the bass player from that band about a month ago. And the president of that company, we've had dinner several times in the last 4 years. And he's like, we knew you were going through a hard time, G. Hoping you would make it out of it and knowing that isn't who you are.
Wow.
And wow.
Right.
And, it's the most incredible, I don't know if it's empowerment, because we have to do it for ourselves. You can have a catalyst. There might be something that pushes you towards sobriety, but ultimately we're alone a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we do whatever we want when we're alone, and then we can lie about it and feel shittier about ourselves, and then we can do it again and again and again. Sobriety, recovery, it is an incredibly empowering road to be on, because the sober people that I know that are solid in their recovery, solid in their sobriety, those are the people I want around me in the tough times. I know I can depend on them, and I know they're going to be honest.
Right.
And that's the kind of people I want in my life. And as we continue down this road, at least for me, more and more of those people keep coming into my life.
And that's the kind of
And
person I want to be.
yeah,
That's all I didn't know that's all I wanted to be. But that's all I want. You know, when you talk about I'm going to call you at 2:52, there's a sense of pride when I hang up from making that phone call at 2:52. Not a bad pride, but a sense of because for so long I didn't do the right thing by anybody, especially myself. And so doing the right thing, of course, again, shouldn't be complimented or a rarity, but for my kind of alcoholic, it is a rarity. And so even still, to that small little baby accomplishments of calling at 2:52, and when you say you're gonna, and when you hang up that phone, it's just another little thread that adds to that strength that's building up, right, in recovery, that just becomes our Superman. I don't know. It's people. I wish I could just shove it down their throats. I mean, it's like, you don't know what you're missing, but I can instantly, when I say that, Garold, even when it comes out of my mouth just now, God's going, March 14, 2012. I can remember. Nobody could have forced it down my throat. It had happened the way it happened, and I'm so stinking grateful. The gratitude that I have, and I can see it in you too, is just immeasurable.
yeah, and the bad days, because we all have them. I still have the challenging days, and the days when I'm yelling four-letter expletives at my cat for no apparent reason. But so often I just look in the sky and just say thank you, and I don't have an idea what my higher power is, what that thing bigger than me. I just know it directs me where I'm supposed to go as long as I stay out of my own way. And the doors that have opened since I surrendered to that, I can't imagine that stuff.
Yeah,
I couldn't write it down.
I don't know what it is, but I know it is.
Yes, you're exactly. That's a great way to put it.
And it ain't worth
And when we get out,
questioning.
and then when we can quiet our mind, I meditate 2, sometimes 3 times a day just to quiet my mind. And I'm a big fan of a book called The Surrender Experiment by Mickey Singer, and he surrendered to the divine guidance, and he said yes to everything, and his life turned out phenomenal. And I'm not quite there. I still got, my ego gets in the way sometimes, and I still, want what I want when I want it, and I want it now. And then I can back up a little bit though and say, well, where are you being guided right now? Let's quiet the mind for a little bit and see what the answers to these questions are.
Yeah, see, I can back up and see that everything I want, what I want, when I want it, and I want it now. Everything that I've wanted, that I have forced and gotten, isn't even in the same universe as the things that have been given to me that I treasure the most. My peace, my just joy. Most of the time, serenity, all of the things that matter, I didn't have anything to do with. I didn't have anything to do with them. I mean, it just, they obviously, just like you had said at the beginning, there was action that I took, but those things were given to me as a result of those actions that, man, I just wouldn't trade. So tell me how people can get a hold of you or follow you, or tell me all the things about you.
Well, Garold Vallie, you can see it spelled there on the screen. I go by my real name on social media, just Garold Vallie, Facebook, Instagram. I'm not super active on Twitter, but Facebook and Instagram is probably the best way if you want to drop me a line. I try to answer every single message I get. It might take a few days, but I will get there. There's a website called The Stoke is Real.
Spell that.
Pardon?
Spell that.
The Stoke. TheStokeisreal. The Stoke is Real. and you can go there and it tells you more about my, a little bit bio kind of thing. I have a new book out you can find at Barnes and Noble, all that kind of stuff, called DIFY, Do It For Yourself, A Simple Guide to Living the Life You Deserve. And some people in recovery have read it and they're like, dude, that's such a recovery book.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's not written that way. So like you said, the earthlings who read it are getting some of the philosophy that has helped us stay alive through that book. I'm a speaker. Actually, I'm speaking November 6th at Brighton Center for Recovery.
Oh, very cool.
Here in Michigan. About a month ago, I spoke at Sacred Heart down up in Port Huron, Michigan, recovery facilities. I'm working on a thing. Well, we'll get back to contact. Garold Vallie is the best way. Drop me a line, follow. It's all motivation, punk rock, and more motivation, than usually some skateboards sprinkled in there. And I do some lives. I have a group, the DIFY group, where we do some special stuff through Facebook, and you can get to that through me. And what else? Character skateboards. That's where the new board's coming out. I'm very honored with that. I would have never thought. I mean, my first pro skateboard, it has the silhouette of the Stanley Cup on it from hockey, and a picture of Frankenstein, because I've had like 800 stitches. I've super glued my teeth in. I've stitched myself up.
Oh my gosh.
I've done those things. And so every skateboard had a Frankenstein since then. But when that first one come out, I'm like, this may never happen again. Like, this is incredible. Like, how does a kid from Michigan, how does this happen? And now, like, there's a board coming out tomorrow with another Frankenstein head on it. And that's pretty cool.
That's amazing. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, I love meeting new people. I love offering any kind of insight I can to help you get to where you need to be, or there you want to be, because we're all capable of so much, and we have this crazy power inside of us to become whatever we can imagine. And recovery, in my experience, just stoke that frickin' fire and let me know how much power I really have to get out of that. And hell is an understatement,
right?
Like, that isn't even like there isn't even a word in the English language of what we go through and what we willingly put ourselves through and what we willingly give away.
Right. Yes.
Going for that.
Yes.
Well, when you live when you start living and giving to other people, helping other people, and sharing your story, there is a power to that. And that power is shared. It's not an egotistical, like, I don't have to be, when I get to speak in front of a recovery facility, it isn't about me.
Right.
It really isn't. And it was rad when I was up at Sacred Heart, because some people in the audience knew who I was. Like, they approached me before I got there, and they're like, are you, like, the skateboard guy? Like that? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, man. I'm, whatever. But when I get done, and different people are talking about what hit them differently, young ladies in tears going, nobody's ever said it quite like that. That they do that you are loved, that there are people out there who care about you, and we lose that. We lose that vision because we just want to drink. We just want to drug. It's our world, and we're going to live it the way we want to. And recovery is shown me that, that I do have value, that you have value, that we have value collectively to the people around us. And I'm a big fan of common consciousness. When two brains get together over thousands of miles, you're in Texas, I'm in Detroit, but there's something magic going on here. Right. There's a connection here that's going to resonate. We'll never see those benefits. We won't, but they're there. And I know they're there. And you know they're there. And if it's one person, we all say it, if it's one person, one freaking person sees this and says, I want to be like Christine, or shit, if that Garold guy did it, sounds like he was pretty much a shit bag. If he can do it, I can do it, or whatever. That one thing, they might have heard one thing about that happened in your life or my life, and something happened. Some neuron that hasn't connected in years connect. And they're like, today is that day. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, I never thought I would be happy not being the star of the show. Just being a messenger. There's
The
just
best.
there. It's the best.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it still is weird coming out of my mouth. It's like, how did that happen? I mean, I know how it happened, but it's just, the gratitude. I'm so thankful for you coming on the show, and I'm so thankful that God put you in my path for a new friend and a new connection, and especially in recovery. But just like I said, on a soul-to-soul level, brother, I'm just grateful for you.
I feel the same way. And this isn't the first or last time we'll be doing something together,
That's
because I don't
exactly
believe
right.
I don't believe in coincidence.
I
And
don't
people
either.
come into your life, they come into your life when they're supposed to, how they're supposed to, and so I'm looking forward to whatever is next. And thank you so much for having me on and letting me share a little bit.
Me as well, brother. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the Purpose Driven Sobriety podcast. Thank you, Garold. I'm so grateful for you.
All right, we'll talk soon.
All right. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to Purpose Driven Sobriety. Keep coming back.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.
I married a guy I knew most of my life. We knew each other in high school and even went to prom together. But little did I know, I did not know him at all. I will call my now ex-husband Dirty Chad.
Hey y'all, this is April
And this is Caroline.
with Bloody Happy Hour.
And we are bringing to you Dirty Chad. Get it on patreon.com/bloodyhappyhour exclusively for all the details and all the red flags.
Caroline's finally telling her story.
My truth.